Okay, live once again. Good evening. Yeah, I can't even get out of good evening. Good evening, folks. Mobile Geezer here for Friday Night Tech Talk, as we are every Friday. Although I'm thinking about probably suspending it next Friday. But I hope everybody has had a good week. Let's see if my phone does what it usually does and cranks it there. There it goes. Okay. Okay. So I hope everybody's had a good week. You could thank Eleanor for the nice Christmas background with the Merry Christmas there, because she asked me, "What's your background?" I said, "My news background," like always. She said, "Don't you think you should have a Christmas background?" Well, of course, I did have Christmas backgrounds from last year. So I put this one up, and I'm hoping everybody does have a very Merry Christmas. So, of course, I sent the link out to the StreamYard to the usual suspects, to Mike and Will and Ted and Mark. So we'll see if anybody has time to show up. You might have noticed I haven't put many videos up because, yes, like everybody else, I've been busy with some Christmas stuff too. Last week, Eleanor and I went down to Pensacola to see the great-grands and bring Christmas and birthday presents. We had a great weekend down there. And so I'm sure everybody is busy with all their Christmas. All my Christmas shopping is done, so I'm happy about that. I hope yours is done, and if not, you better get on the stick pretty quick. See if I can get to my stories. Yeah, they're over here. Okay, that's good. And as always, let me show you. Now, of course, the show notes are in the YouTube description. And if you're on Facebook, there's a link to the show notes there. But like I like to do, I'll give you a screenshot of what the show notes look like on my website. So there it is on my website. See if I can get rid of that Friday Night Tech Talk that's blocking the top. Let's see. Okay, so it's WordPress at mobilegeezer.com. If you click on the first story with today's date, you'll see the show notes right there. So let me put that back. And stop sharing screen. So, of course, if none of the guys come in, it'll be another short show, and that's fine. I'm sure everybody's busy anyway. But here, we're having, from my point of view, a wonderful December. It was 68 degrees today. A little bit drizzly, but not a bad day. And I was riding my bicycle the other day, and it got up to 73 degrees. So from middle of December, I'll take all of that I can get. So I hope it's nice where you are, or if you're a snow person, I hope you get snow for Christmas. I've had enough of snow for Christmas for one lifetime. So let's see who else is in here. Go back to my comments. Okay, we've got Miss E in here. Okay, yes, we were very happy to see the great-grands. Yes, the grandbaby is 28 years old now. So if you saw the pictures, we had the grandson and great-grandson and the whole family in a couple of the pictures. Yeah, Eleanor saying, I had not seen my great-grandson in 4.5 years, and now he's 5, and it was awesome seeing how wonderful a family was doing. Yes, and our grandson is doing extremely well. Very proud of him. So it was a pretty great trip. We went down on Saturday, came back on Sunday. But, of course, it's a 6.5-hour drive for me. That's like going around the block. So, of course, I had a good time just doing that. So, and there's the ladies. Ah, that's wonderful. You can always count on ladies. I like that. Okay, let's start getting to the stories. So I started with this one simply because I thought it was interesting. And of course, I have all three of these types of phones. I'm going to share my screen. And this was on Tom's guide, and it was Google Pixels beat the iPhone and Galaxy in 2021. Here's how. You can probably guess how, but we'll get to it. It's by Jordan Palmer. When it comes to phone pricing, Google nailed it this year, and that's what it's all about. Let's go over to read a view. Okay. It's no secret that flagship smartphones have gotten too expensive. While we at Tom's Guide think devices like the iPhone 13 Pro Max and Galaxy S21 Ultra are stellar handset, they both start at more than $1,000. That's not chump change, and even on a payment plan, that's a lot of money for most people, especially with prices the way they are. But in 2021, Google took a stand, starting with the 449 Pixel 5a, which I have right here. Let's see if I can change this view a little bit. Yeah. Pixel 5a I have right here. Excellent, excellent phone. I still highly recommend it. And let's see, starting with the 5a, the company puts out its phone at hundreds less than their competition. The $599 base model Pixel 6 went head-to-head with the likes of the $799 iPhone 13 and Galaxy S21. The $899 Pixel 6 Pro, which is right here, traded blows with the $999 iPhone 13 Pro, which I do not have, or the $1,099 Pro Max, and the $1,199 Galaxy S21 Ultra, which I also have right here. So I can certainly relate to this story. Oh, and as far as the iPhone, I still have the 12 Pro. I didn't get any of the 13s. So let me change this again. And while none of those Pixel phones are free of faults, they're still incredible devices and great values. The Pixel 5a 5G is leagues better than basically every other budget-friendly smartphone. I got to agree. It bests the iPhone SE 2020 in almost every regard, especially the display and camera quality. For years, Google has struggled to get things right. 2020 saw the fan favorite Pixel 4a, a phone we still think is a great option at $349 or less. I would agree. I traded that in on one of these phones if you find a good deal. But flagship Pixels have historically struggled to balance prices and features. The $899 Pixel 4 XL was the breaking point. The Pixel 5 was a much more toned down device, but at $699, its feature set paled in comparison to the likes of the Galaxy S20 FE and the OnePlus 8. 2021 is the year Google got serious about smartphones. Yeah, I say so. I see commercials on TV all the time for the Pixel 6. The Pixel 6 series is far from perfect, but the two flagship phones are better than anything else you can buy for either $599 or $899. I agree. The Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro certainly hold their own against more expensive devices. That's why I think Google won the smartphone battle this year. Not because the Pixel 6 Pro is the best Android phone you can buy. It's not. But because Google figured out how to set the cost for its phones properly. Two of the best camera phones ever cost $599 and $899. That's impressive. Price matters, even on payment plans, and you don't have to go far before you find someone who agrees that phones are too expensive nowadays. While we shouldn't take these pocketable computers for granted, the cost of living itself has noticeably increased in the last 5 years, yet even in the last year. With that in mind, when you want or need to upgrade your smartphone, the ones that offer the most bang for your buck will stand out. Google figured that out, which is why the 2021 Pixel lineup is so competitive. Let's hope that continues in 2022. I can't wait to see what's next. So I think he makes a very good point. For the price, That's probably the two best Android phones you can buy. I agree with him 100% on that. Let's see what we're seeing in the compliments. Missy agrees about the Pixel 6. So, Missy, did you get a Pixel 6? Or I think the last time we talked, you were thinking about one. So let us know if you have one. And if so, if you like it as much as I absolutely love mine. But of course, since I also love my Z Flip, what I tend to do is every other day, one of them becomes my first daily driver. Okay, she's saying she didn't get it yet. Okay. But yeah, I 100% agree with that article. For the money, those are about the two best Android phones you can get. And he said they weren't the absolute best. Yes, because I think as long as the Sony phones are out there, they may be the best, but then you're getting into the thousands of dollars. So makes a good point. I wouldn't mind trying one of those Sony phones, but I don't have $1,500 to $2,000 to spend on a phone. All right, let's move on to our next story. And you know how you go to the gas station and when you gas up, there's always a commercial or one of the news breaks. Well, when I gassed up today at work, the first news story was about this story. I said, well, I guess I must have gotten it right. So I'm going to share my screen. And this was on Reuters. And it's Reddit jumps on the IPO bandwagon with a confidential filing. I was surprised. They're going public. So that's by Sonia Chima and Noor Zinab Hussain. So let's go to read a view. Okay. So this was yesterday. Reddit Incorporated, whose message boards became the go-to destination for day traders during this year's meme stock frenzy, said on Wednesday it had confidentially filed for an initial public offering with U.S. securities regulators. Reuters first reported on Reddit's IPO plans in September. I had no idea. The social media company is aiming for a valuation of over $15 billion at the time of its flotation. See if they get it or not. Sources have previously told Reuters. Reddit's message board, especially its Wall Street Bets thread, were at the heart of a pitch battle between small-time traders and some of the big Wall Street firms, helping drive big gains in highly shorted shares of companies such as GameStop. Yeah, they were fighting back and forth for a month, and AMC, while popularizing the term meme stocks. At the height of the trading frenzy in February, Reddit's value doubled to $6 billion from a year earlier. The company was valued at $10 billion in a private fundraising round in August. Not bad growth. Although a decent valuation, it still pales in comparison to Twitter Incorporated's $35 billion or Facebook on the Meta platform's $1 trillion market capitalizations. Well, I wouldn't compare it to that yet, despite all three companies being founded around the same time. Reddit is hoping to be priced at a substantial premium to the typical tech stock IPO this year, University of Florida finance Professor Jay Ritter said. As with many money-losing companies going public, the rapid growth rate of revenue offers the potential to have high future profits, justifying a high multiple. And that's true even with companies are money, because once they go public, they raise all this money. But what often happens when those companies do that, they end up going out and expending or spending that money so fast, they put themselves in trouble. A couple of years, you hear they can declare bankruptcy. Hopefully that doesn't happen here. On Reddit thread Wall Street Bets, some users joked about potentially pumping the offering when it became available, like they did with GameStop. I'm in, where do we start? A Reddit user called 9Axel said in the post. The San Francisco-based company, founded in 2005 by Steve Huffman and Alexis Ohanian, reported $100 million in advertising revenue in the second quarter, and almost threefold jump from the same period last year. They're really growing nicely. As of January, Reddit had more than 52 million daily active users in over 100,000 communities. In comparison, Facebook had nearly 2 billion daily active users in September, while Twitter had 211 million monetizable daily active users, a term for users who see the ads placed on their platform. I don't see why it's comparing them to Facebook and Twitter. Reddit's investors over the years have included venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz funds such as Sequoia Capital and Tencent Holdings, as well as rap star Snoop Dogg. Reddit did not disclose the number of shares to be offered or the price range of the IPO in the draft registration statement with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. So it's just interesting that they're going public, and I guess they're going to raise a lot of money. I hope they don't spend it too fast like a lot of companies do. So Reddit's becoming big time, or has gone big time, I guess. Let's see. And Missy says the Pixel 6 will be her next device, she thinks. Yeah, she was saying about, I guess, the Reddit story, wondering when that would happen. It's a trend now. So as long as they manage it well, they'll do fine. So let me move on down to the next story. Anybody who's watching, and please put a comment in so I know you're there. Let's see. And I just thought I should put this story up because a lot of us got the new update on our iPhones this week and our iPads and our watches. So this is on 9 to 5 Mac. This is from Monday. It's by Jose Adorno. So here's why you should update your iPhone to iOS 15.2. Yeah, I did mine the night before last, yeah. And I did my iPad and my watch, of course, too. Let's go to read review. Apple has officially released iOS 15.2 to the general public. This update comes 5 weeks after Apple introduced iOS 15.1, which finally brought SharePlay as well as other delayed features. Here's everything new with iOS 15.2 that should make you update your iPhone now. App Privacy Report is finally here with iOS 15.2. One of the features delayed with the iOS 15 original release that wasn't available with iOS 15.1 was the App Privacy Report page. Now with 15.2, it's finally live to all users. After iOS 14.5 introduced app tracking transparency, yes, which was nice to have, which requires applications to ask permission from users before tracking them across other apps and websites, Apple is now pushing beyond this with App Privacy Report. Oh, and I should mention, I was watching some gadget guy, Juan Bagnell, on his Monday Live, and he was saying how, yes, Apple has the app tracking transparency, and yes, you can tell them not to track you. He says they're still tracking you anyway, and he made some good points about it. So just so you know. So I guess the more they give us within this, the better off we're all going to be. This report can be found in the Settings app with details on what data and sensors each app has accessed in the past 7 days. So that's good to know. So you'll know which apps are grabbing your data for the last 7 days. That's a good thing to know. So that's just in this latest one. A section in Settings lets you see how often apps have accessed your location, phones, camera, microphone, and contacts during the last 7 days. It also shows you which apps have contacted other domains, really good to know, and how recently they have contacted them. So basically, I think it kind of shows you who they're selling your data to, which is great. And the next one up is Apple Music Voice Plan support. During Apple's Unleashed event in October, the company announced a new Apple Music Voice Plan costing $4.99 per month. Users must rely on Siri to ask for songs, playlists, or to listen to the radio. According to Apple, users can subscribe to the voice plan through Siri by saying, I'm not going to say it in front of it, start my Apple Music voice trial, or by signing up to the music app. Once subscribed to the Apple Music voice plan, users can request music to be played across all of their Siri-enabled devices, including HomePod MIDI, AirPods, iPhone, or any other Apple device, and when using CarPlay, which we just used last weekend. This new option is available in Australia, Austria, Canada, China mainland, France, Germany, Hong Kong, India, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Mexico, New Zealand, Spain, Taiwan, the UK, and the US, all with 15.2. Communication safety on iMessage. In August, Apple introduced its controversial CSAM plans. Yes, we talked about that for a couple of weeks, as a matter of fact. After a lot of misconception and concerns about its photo scanning announcements, the company decided to push back the launch of these new features. And I disagree about misconception. We all got it and nobody liked it. That's why they pushed it back. Now, one of the features that were announced together, even though it's not part of the CSAM project, thank God, is finally launching with 15.2. With communication safety in messages, this feature is designed to give parents additional tools to help protect their children from sending and receiving sexually explicit images in the Messages app. It works only on images sent or received in the Messages app for child accounts set up in family sharing, so the parents would have to make sure that's set up. It analyzes the images on device and so does not change the privacy assurances of messages. When a child's account sends or receives sexually explicit images, the phone will be blurred and the child will be warned, presented with helpful resources, and reassured it is okay if they do not want to view or send the photo. As an additional precaution, young children can also be told that to make sure they are safe, their parents will get a message if they do view it. That's good, I think. So that's under Add Legacy Contact. And there are a number of videos out there already on iOS 15.2. I would strongly suggest going and watching some. There's 3 or 4 good ones that I've seen already. I'm sure there's many more. As we store more and more data digitally, a growing concern is that all of it could be lost in the events of our death. This is kind of cool. We've outlined in the past the risk to family photos in particular, and I've seen that happen with people that I know that have died. Here's how Apple plans to help us with that. The digital legacy program allows you to designate people as legacy contacts so they can access your account and personal information in the event of your death. If you want one or more friends or family members to be able to access your iCloud data after your death, you will be able to name them and provide them with a security key. The key will not be usable while you're alive. Cool. Apple will only activate it if supplied with proof of your death, which would normally be a copy of your death certificate. It's worth noting that not all of your data will be accessible, as some of it is protected with end-to-end encryption. This includes Apple Card transactions, health data, keychain entries, and browser history. So I think, personally, I don't know what you guys think of it, but I think that's pretty cool that you can just name somebody that would have access to your iCloud after you're dead, and only if you're dead. I think that's pretty cool. Let me take a pause here. Brian's here. What's up, Brian? Glad you're here. And here's Jimmy, and we just missed each other last weekend in Pensacola. Jimmy lives in Pensacola. But I'm glad you're here, Jimmy. Very glad to have you here. Jimmy and I used to broadcast live every week together back 5 years ago, I guess it was. We used to broadcast with Joshua Bain, and that's when I first started writing, I guess 6 years ago. I first started writing for Joshua Bain. Before I had my own website, I used to write for his website every week. So that's how Jimmy and I know each other. Jimmy's a great guy, and he was doing some planning to go somewhere for Christmas, and I was just there for the weekend, so we missed each other. But glad you're in here. Oh, and here's one. This he has an interesting one. On late Hummy, Samsung, Google has that option also. I forgot the name of it. Glad Apple is also doing that. I didn't know Samsung and Google did that. So I guess you can give access to your family after you die with them also. That's great. Jimmy says, I can't believe it's been that. Yeah, it's been a while, Jimmy. We're getting old. Well, at least I am. I guess you're not. Jimmy's a whole lot younger than I am. Okay, back to the article. iPhone 13 Pro new macro mode toggle. So this is for the camera. With iOS 15.1, Apple made available the possibility to turn off macro photography. Now, the company has made another tweak to the macro mode toggle with iOS 15.2. The release notes say macro photo control for switching to the ultra-wide lens to capture macro photos and videos has been enabled in settings on iPhone 13 Pro and iPhone 13 Pro Max. So I can't do it on my 12 Pro. The company also added a dedicated macro mode to the camera app itself. What's the best feature of this operating system for you? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. So like I said, there are some good videos. Here's one right here. You could go in here and click on it. But there are some good features in there. And if you have an iPhone, I would suggest you go check it out because there's some nice new features there. So stopping screen. Okay. Like I said, if none of the other guys come in, it's going to be a short one again. Okay, next story. And we've got virtual shoes to go with the metaverse. So let me share screen. I don't see myself being in the metaverse much, if at all, but I just thought this was a cool story. So, this is on The Verge. Nike just bought a virtual shoe company that makes NFTs and sneakers for the metaverse. RTFKT makes shoes too, except these only exist digitally, which is pretty cool, I thought. And that was written by Richard Lawler. So let's go into reader view, get rid of some of these ads. Okay. All right, let's go back and check the picture out. Got the wrong thing up there. Sorry about that. I wanted to get, okay, let's turn reader view on. Those, I just think those are cool looking. Of course, knowing me, I'd wear those in real life. So back on the reader view. One comparison I've heard repeatedly over the last year is that buying NFTs to flex on people in the metaverse is just like collecting sneakers. And now Nike is apparently trying to make sure it's ready for the literal version of that possibility. The apparel giant just announced the acquisition of RTFKT Studios, which it calls a leading brand that leverages cutting-edge innovation to deliver next-generation collectibles that merge culture and gaming. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. RTFKT claims that in February, a collaboration with teenage artist Fuocious, I like that name, to sell real sneakers paired with virtual ones, managed to sell some 600 pairs NFTs in just 6 minutes, netting over 3.1 million at the time. So 600 pairs of those virtual sneakers got them 3.1 million. That means they cost a lot of money. Just saying. This was around the same early spring period when most of us were hearing about NFTs for the first time. Yep, that's true. As Grimes sold some $6 million worth of digital artwork on March 1st. Yes, we all heard about that and talked about that and had stories about that. It's not clear if any of these digital items are worth much now. Looking at OpenSea and Nifty Gateway right now, I see a number of them are either listed for or have recently sold for less than their original prices. Yeah, because back in March, everybody was talking about it and they were selling all kinds of NFT art like crazy. I guess some of the shine has worn off and they're not worth quite as much as they were. But forget the past. And that time it photoshopped a pair of its sneakers onto Elon Musk. I didn't know they did that. RTFKT is moving forward, and just yesterday, the A16Z backed startup launched the Clone X NFT collaboration with Japanese artist Takashi Murakami, offering a number of metaverse-ready digital avatars styled with various collectible traits. The company's website immediately asked visitors to link their MetaMask wallets. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a MetaMask wallet, which is one of the ways NFT owners can verify their purchases, with the idea that at some point in the future, you'll play games or enter other sorts of VR spaces where your items can materialize once those spaces have read the blockchain to access which items you own and the rights. Well, that makes perfect sense because the blockchain is what keeps track of who owns what. This is the kind of vision that Nike is buying into, crediting the company's founder, Benoit Pagato, Chris Lay, and Steven Vasilev with leveraging the latest in game engines, NFTs, blockchain authentication, and augmented reality to create one-of-a-kind virtual products and experiences. So it sounds like we'll probably be saying a lot more than sneakers and shoes. And I wouldn't think that's very far off. While announcing the deal without revealing how much it spent, Nike positioned RTFKT's lightning bolt style logo alongside its own iconic swoosh, Jumpman, and Converse marks. Here, let me take off the reader mode so you can see what he's talking about there, because that's right above it. Okay, so I'll play that little video for you in a second. But yes, see, he's got their brand added on to the other Nike stuff. Those brands have decades of history built on high-level, authentic endorsements, distinctive designs, and a grassroots culture that actually exists in the real world. RTFKT, meanwhile, was founded in January 2020. It says that the human development in consciousness has accelerated faster than anticipated. We are here to accelerate our digital future now. So let me go back and play you this little video. You don't have to hear it, but it just watching it is kind of cool. So it's just some musical background, but I just think it's kind of cool to look at. And if any of you want to buy some sneakers for the metaverse, feel free. And if you want to buy me a pair, feel free also, because I doubt that I'll be spending money for it. But just thought it was an interesting story. Let's see what's going on in the comments. He said they had a presence in the nearly defunct virtual reality game called There. Okay, didn't know that. Way back in the early 2000s. So she knows some of this stuff. She said 2005, 2006 maybe. Cool. Yeah, she says like me, she'll pass too. But as we know, technology usually comes down in price. So who knows, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, we'll all have shoes in our metaverse. Yeah, Jimmy says, not quite ready to spend real money for virtual clothes, but maybe one day here. Yeah, I won't rule it out completely. But Jimmy, if you just want to donate a few thousand for me to give this a shot, you feel free. Just think of it as contributing to the older generation. I have no shame whatsoever. Okay. Okay. So, of course, I didn't even think when I was preparing my stories on the website, but let me screenshot. My very next story is also about robots, and that seems like they kind of go together. Anyway, that's from my very next story. So, and all I said was robots are getting there thanks to Toyota. So let's pull this up. Share. And this is kind of interesting because at least we're not having them take over it, actually doing something useful. This is on CNET. Toyota gives robots a soft touch and better vision to amplify our intelligence. Toyota Research Institute's latest robots can't be fooled by clear packaging or mirrors. That's a breakthrough. Yeah, I gather they often can't see things or be sure they're there or not there when it's clear glass. So let's go to read a view. This is by Brian Cooley, just from yesterday. Thanks to decades of sci-fi movies, it's easy to think of robots as human replacements. Metal arms, hinged legs, and electronic eyes will do that. But the future of robots may center on extending and boosting us, not so much replacing us. That sounds better. While that concept isn't entirely new, it came more sharply into focus recently when I visited Toyota Research Institute's headquarters in Los Altos, California. That's where robots amplify humans is the mission. And there's one of the robots there. And I'm going to read the comments underneath here too because they're relevant. Don't be fooled by the humanoid layout of many robots. Their real value may be in amplifying more than replacing us. Toyota Research Institute's Max, this one's challenging. Basracharya shows C. That's Brian Cooley, one of its development tools. Yeah, he's the main guy, I think. People here are passionate about making robots truly useful, says Max Basracharya, VP of Robots at TRI and veteran of Google's robotics unit, Boston Dynamics, and NASA's Mars rover team. So this guy's really been around his robots. Today, he develops robots in mock-ups of home kitchens and grocery store aisles. How can we really help people in their day-to-day lives? Good point. TRI isn't charged with getting robots on the market, but with figuring out the problems preventing that from happening. That's good research, I'd say. One tangible example is a soft touch sensing gripper developed at TRI that allows a robot to handle delicate things the way we do, with a progressive, nuanced sense of pressure and recognition, which is exactly what we do when we squeeze something. The other side of robots, TRI has developed a soft touch robot, hands that can not only handle things elegantly, but also identify them. That's cool. These soft grippers are like padded hooves with cameras on the inside that can figure out the perfect amount of force needed to grip something and can also help identify an object essentially by touch, much like us, I guess. Replicating our body is incredibly complex if you think about how many sensors we have in our skin and the superlative wetware processor in our skull that makes sense of them all, according to Basracharya. Thought I was getting better with that, I guess not. This work in soft touch is about more than just grabbing and holding. AI and smartphone pioneer Jeff Hawkins subscribes to a theory that much of how we understand the world is achieved by comparing memory frames of how we've moved through it, either via literal touch or through virtual contact with concepts like liberty and love. That kind of learning about the world seems to have strong echoes in TRI's work. Can you imagine a robot falling in love? I can't. TRI has also given its robots the ability to understand clear or reflective surfaces. something anyone with a cat knows can be remarkably hard. Yeah, I can see where that would be hard for a robot. Transparencies and reflections can confuse a robot into thinking something is or isn't there when the opposite is true. From grocery aisles full of clear containers to homes full of mirrors, the places where this breakthrough can advance robotic relevance are numerous. I'm sure it would be. There it is. So I guess there was a time most robots would probably not know that's there or just crush it to death. It says recognizing a transparent object as actually being there is a sensing task that humans take for granted and one that robots are tricked by. But the bigger goal remains a symphony of people and robots. What you don't see today is humans and robots really interfacing together. Yeah, I'd rather interface with them than have somebody sticking one in my brain, which really limits how much robots can amplify humans' ability, says Bhattacharya. That's where TRI turns AI on its head with something they call IA, or intelligence amplification. Simply put, it views robots as leveraging human superior intelligence and multiplying it with a robot's superior abilities in strength, precision, persistence, and repeatability. That makes sense. Toyota has been focused on enhancing human mobility since a major announcement in 2017 by CEO Akio Toyoda at an event in Athens that I helped moderate. All of this brings up the relatability of robots. I've long felt that they will need to be as relatable as they are capable to achieve maximum adoption, since humans can't help but anthropomorphize them. That doesn't mean being as adorably useless as Curie, which took CES by storm in 2017 before vanishing 18 months later. Yeah, that robot was walking all over the place, wasn't it? But it does mean establishing some kind of relationship. 27, that's right. Ted and I were in CES in 2017. I'm trying to remember if we saw that. I think I saw that robot from a distance. Some people actually prefer a robot because it's not a person. I'm not going to try his name again. Speaking of robots in home or healthcare settings, but some people are very concerned about this machine in their environment due to fear of the unknown or concerns that it will displace human workers. Sure, we're going to worry about that. The history of robotics is still only at its preface, but nuanced skills that amplify humans savvy about the world while robots take over some of what dilutes our time and effort appear to be a formula for the next chapter. Yeah, just the chapter after that people worry about. Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting story. Let's see what's going on. And of course, yeah, Jimmy's going to buy me one of those pairs of shoes. Check us in the mail. Thank you, Jimmy. You're very kind. Now, of course, with this one, Miss E said the Will Smith movie, I, Robot. Of course, love that movie. Ted says, who here would beta test a robot in their home? And that's what they said at the end of the article. Bring it into your house. That's kind of nervous. You can come in here anytime you want, Ted. Anyway, Missy says, hi, Ted. I'll pass on the robot. And she says, one hijacked line of code and we would be toast. And she's right. She's done some work with computers too, just like me. And I got to agree. One or two lines change. Yeah, that's probably all it would take. Yo, Brian, thank you very much. As always, they're very kind of you. Okay. So, yeah, I don't think any of us would be comfortable with actually having a robot. Can you imagine having a robot in your house and then you kind of got used to it being there and then you have to go out? Now, I would be even less comfortable leaving him there with me not there. That's just me, though. Yeah, Brian's passing on the robot, too. I knew somebody had to bring up Skynet, Jimmy, of course. Get out. Okay. Interesting time. At least I got some comments out of you guys. That's good. And of course, Jimmy came up with the definitive comments. Okay. Now to a little more serious story and something that'll be interesting to people who have phones on their mind all the time, people like me. Okay, I'm going to share screen. Now, I don't know how far off this is, but this is on the verge again. IBM and Samsung say their new chip design could lead to week-long battery life on phones, something that would interest all of us very much. The next big advance in chips is Looking Up by Chaim Gartenberg. And let's put in reader view. Okay. IBM and Samsung have announced their latest advance in semiconductor design, a new way to stack transistors vertically on a chip instead of lying flat on the surface of the semiconductor. Makes sense. The new vertical transport field effect transistors, VT-FET design, is meant to succeed the current FIN-FET technology that's used for some of today's most advanced chips and could allow for chips that are even more densely packed with transistors than today. In essence, the new design would stack transistors vertically, allowing for current to flow up and down the stack of transistors instead of the side-to-side horizontal layout that's currently used on most chips. Vertical designs for semiconductors have been a trend for a while. FinFET already offers some of those benefits. Intel's future roadmap also looks to move in that direction too, although its initial work focused on stacking chip components, which is what we do now, rather than individual transistors. It makes sense, after all. When you've run out of ways to add more chips in one plane, the only real direction, other than physically shrinking transistor technology, is to go up, which is exactly why we have all those high rises in New York City. Because when you can't go out, you go up. So it sounds like a good plan to me. If you go to the story and watch this video, it tries to explain it. I don't think they do a great job of it, but if you guys go to that story and check out the video, maybe you'll understand it a little bit better than I did. But I basically get it. You're going to go up rather than side to side. While we're still a ways from VT-FET designs being used in actual consumer chips, the two companies are making some big claims, noting that VT-FET chips could offer a 2 times improvement in performance or an 85% reduction in energy use. That would be nice, compared to FinFET designs. And by packing more transistors into chips, IBM and Samsung claim that VT-FET technology could help keep Moore's law goal of steadily increasing transistor count moving forward. That's been happening for a long time. IBM and Samsung already also citing some ambitious possible use cases for the new technology, raising the idea of cell phone batteries that could go over a week without being charged instead of days, less energy-intensive cryptocurrency mining. Yeah, that would really help there because they use up a ton of energy in mining cryptocurrency, or data encryption, and even more powerful IoT devices or even spacecraft. IBM has previously shown off its first 2-nanometer chip earlier this year, which takes a different route toward carrying more transistors by scaling up the amount that can be fit onto a chip using the existing FinFET design. Well, that's what it's always been. It's always been about cramming more onto that chip. VT-FET would aim at taking things further, however, although it'll likely be even longer before we see chips based on IBM and Samsung's latest technology out into the world. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how long this takes. It's not the only company looking to the future of production either. Intel previewed its upcoming Ribbon FET, Intel's first gate-all-around transistor. Don't know exactly what that means. Design over the summer, its own successor to FinFET production technology, which is set to be part of the Intel 20A generation of semiconductor products scheduled to start ramping production in 2024. So I guess we'll see their idea of it in about 2 years, but it doesn't sound like it's advanced. It's as advanced as this VTEFT. The company also recently announced its own plan for stacked transistor technology as a potential successor for ribbon FET in the future. But it's still stacked transistor as opposed to going up like this would be. So anyway, very interesting stuff. And I'm sure we'd all be thrilled to have batteries that last a week instead of a day or two. So just another interesting story. Let's see what's in the comments. Munchie's in here. Yo, Munchie, glad to have you here, brother. Yeah, Jimmy says he loves it if true. I hope so. Yeah, it's just a matter of how long before we see this stuff, Jimmy. Michael's in here. Hey, Michael, how you doing, brother? You can always take out the robot. I'll be concerned with people programming them to commit crimes. Yeah, and that was Miss E's point. Change a couple of lines of code, and that's different. And then no repercussions if they can't prove who created the commit. That's true. That's true. As a programmer, I could say where somebody could hack in, get out, and you don't know who did it. Now it goes out, commits a crime. It gets caught, but probably you never do. And she's saying, Michael, exactly. So good point. So interesting stories this week. There's a lot going on with developing technology. And I've got one more story this week. And I did watch a video. Come on, are you going to come up? The story's giving me a hard time coming up. Let me get out and see if I can come back in. This is about the no, it's not coming up, or it's not displaying properly. Try again. This is about the Oppo Find N, in case you've heard about it. That's the folding phone. I guess that's going to be competing with the Fold 3. Interesting, though, when I pulled this up earlier, it displayed just fine, but now it won't display fine. Sorry about this, folks. And that was going along so nicely with no tech issues this week. Yeah, Brian says, yeah, battery life for 1 week would certainly be a game changer. So something we're all looking forward to. All right, let me try once more to see if this story will come up. I don't know why it won't come up now. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go see if I can find a different story. Apple Find N foldable. Okay. I had that on Phone Arena. But here's one from The Verge, so we'll use theirs. Okay, and that one does come up. I'm going to share screen. So at least it's not my computer that's acting up. All right, so back to The Verge. And Oppo's Find N is an impressive first folding phone. An open and shut case. Ooh, somebody has my sense of humor. Is somebody out there as bad as me? Wow. And this is by Sam Byford. So let's put it on reader view. And normally I've read the stories ahead of time. This one I didn't because I just found it. After teasing its first folding phone last week, Oppo is revealing the Find N in full today. Oppo's chief production officer, Pete Lau, told reporters in a briefing that the company has been working on this phone since 2018, with the final Find N the result of 6 generations of internal development. I can believe it. I've been using it since last week, and it's surprisingly impressive and refined product. So obviously they sent it out to some big shots early because I watched the video while I was at work today waiting for somebody of an MKBHD. He had the phone too. The find end features a similar design to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold series with a large, squarish folding OLED panel on the inside and a smaller screen on the outside that can be used when the phone is closed. The 120 hertz inner display is 7.1 inches diagonal and has a slightly landscape 9 by 8.4 aspect ratio, unlike the Z Fold display, which is taller when unfolded. Yeah, and MKBHD made the point that it was smaller and it felt better being smaller. This means you don't have to rotate the phone 90 degrees with the fold horizontal to watch videos at their largest size. There are dual stereo speakers located at the bottom of the phone too, which further improves the experience of quickly opening the phone to watch the video. That's from the side. The find and hinge lets the phone stay unfolded between 50 and 120 degrees. Okay. The screen looks great. Lau confirmed that it's a Samsung-made panel, but says Oppo has heavily customized it and holds its own patents. Oh, it also is glass, just like the Samsung Fold. The screen is protected by UTG ultra-thin glass, same as Samsung uses, and Oppo rates it for 200,000 folds. Don't they all do that? The same as Samsung. The crease in the panel is wider, but much less visible than in the Galaxy Z Fold 3 because it wraps around a unique teardrop-shaped hinge that Lau says is also heavily patented and costs $100 to build alone, which tells you it's going to be expensive. Just trying to see if there's a picture of that crease. Do we see the crease here? Yeah, the crease does look a little thicker, I guess. Another benefit of this design is that the phone folds shut without leaving a gap between the two halves of the display. That's good. You can feel the crease under your finger, but it's difficult to see in regular use from all but the widest of viewing angles. That's the same as my Z Flip 3. Most of the time, you don't even notice the crease. The outer screen is much more like a regular smartphone than the Z Folds. I guess that's the outer screen. At 5.49 inches with an aspect ratio of 2:1, it's actually very usable. If it weren't for the folded device being twice as thick as a regular phone, well, you can't avoid that. It just feels like the compact Android flagship that nobody else is making. The hinge does make for a larger bezel on the left side of the screen, which you can see, of course, but it's not intrusive. My biggest complaint about the outer screen is that it's only 60 hertz, which wouldn't necessarily be a problem, but feels jarring when the bigger, much smoother inner screen is right there. That makes sense because you're going from 120, you close it, all of a sudden you're 60. Your eyes are going to probably notice that every single time. But it looks kind of nice, to me anyway. Wonder how much it's going to cost. But you can see it is much smaller than the Fold. The rest of the find end spec sheet is what you'd expect from a 2021 Android flagship. Snapdragon 888 processor, 12 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage. The main camera is 50 megapixels using the same Sony IMX766 sensor from the OnePlus 9 Pro and Oppo Find X3 Pro, and is joined by a 16 megapixel ultra wide and 13 megapixel 2x telephoto. The battery is 4,500 milliamps and can be charged at 33 watts with a Super VOC cable or 15-watt wirelessly. There's also 10-watt reverse wireless charging, cool, and standard QI support. A fingerprint sensor is located in the power button. I hope they get that as right as the one on the Flip 3, because that fingerprint sensor is awesome. Oppo isn't quite as ambitious as Samsung with its custom software for multitasking, but there are quite a few gestures that help make the most of the bigger screen. You can pinch with 4 fingers to collapse a full screen app into a smaller floating column, or split the screen in half with a 2-finger swipe down. Oppo has also customized many of its own apps with features designed for the folding screen. For example, if you prop it open at an angle, the music app can display lyrics in the top half. Cool. Background curve similar to the Find X3 Pro. So looks pretty cool. One obvious concern is durability. That's always the concern with foldings. And it's one that I can't speak to after having had such a short time with the Find N. But I can speak to the design, and I think Oppo has a winner here. The Find N is sleek and easy to use, whether it's open or closed. It strikes the balance between both configurations better than any other foldable phone to date. Okay. I would say that the Find N should have Samsung worried, but unfortunately, Oppo was only going to sell in China. Yeah, and that's what MKBHD said the same thing. It's only available in China, a country where Samsung phones have almost no presence. It'll go on sale from December 23rd for a surprisingly low price of $7,699 yuan, about $1,200. That does sound pretty good for a model with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 of storage. 8,999 yuan, about 1,400, gets you in the 12 gigabyte, 512 gigabyte model. Still sounds like a pretty good price. For comparison, the iPhone 13 Pro Max starts at $899, so it's the same price in China. So while the Find N isn't exactly cheap, it's well within mainstream flagship phone territory. The Galaxy Z Fold 3 starts at $1,800 in the US, which we all know. So yeah, it sounds like a great price, especially if it's as good as he thinks it is. But one, we're not going to be seeing it in the US anytime soon. And, you're a beta tester, I would think, if you're buying this phone first. Anyway, it sounds pretty good. So let's see. You see, he said price is out. Yeah, but compared to the Fold, that's pretty cheap, I would think. Let's see. She says, cheap mama here, not going over 1,000. I understand completely. Okay. Yeah, I would think if the Find N turns out to be something as good as, they're kind of making it sound like it might be better. Even MKBHD kind of made it sound like it might be better too. But if it's as good as the Samsung Fold, I'm thinking that's pretty reasonable. Yeah, see, Jimmy is saying the same thing that I'm saying. Pretty reasonable. Yeah, I agree. So for me, if that thing becomes available in the US, I might actually start thinking about a big folding phone rather than just the Z Flip 3. But I love this thing. This is the most fun phone to use I've ever had. So be interesting to see how it sells. And I was surprised to read that it has almost no presence in China, Samsung, I mean. So you said the specs are pretty impressive, though. Yeah, the whole thing. I'd love to see, and I hope somebody shows us what some of the pictures and video looks like from that thing. That would be interesting. But I'd love to see it come over here. So, hey, I already lasted longer than I lasted last week. Not bad. All right, as usual, the last part of the show, we're going to show you just what glowing rectangles is. So I'm going to share my screen. Now, glowing rectangles is a subreddit, is on Reddit. It's reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. Let me get this Friday Night Tech Talk out of the way so you can actually see it. Okay. So reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. Now, this was started by Juan Bagnell, some gadget guy, and he made it specifically for you or anybody you know who wants to get more exposure. This is the place to do it. And anybody can post either a video or a blog here any day, anytime you want. And each day people vote on what's the best story of the day. And if I click top here, it'll show us what story got the most votes today. This got 4 votes. This got 4 votes. So Juan posted this one, 2021 Old Phone Brand Elimination Challenge Day 13. Yeah, he's been doing this challenge for a week or two now, I think. So that got 4 votes. And Ike's Tech Talk Weekly live stream also got 4 votes today. That was posted, but she's always posting somebody for somebody. She's really sweet. So she's helping us get more. The second, or in this case, the third, is always an ad. So one's a Go Cube, 2x2 Speed Cube got the next most votes. He got 3 votes, but if you click up, it'll give you, you'll see 1 more vote. You can click down. I don't know why anybody would do that, but this is how you vote. But if you go to glowing rectangles /r, reddit.com/r glowing rectangles, you can go post any video or blog there, and you or whoever you want will get some exposure. So show that at the end of every show, just so people know it's out there and that they can get some exposure out there. So that's it for this week's. I am debating not having a show next week. Let's see. Let me see. Jimmy's talking about the fine end. By the time it hits the U.S., maybe second generation. Next year's foldables are rumored to be much cheaper. Well, that does make sense because I think the Z Flip 3 made a big difference. This is the first, foldable screen I've ever had, and I love this phone. And everybody who sees it is awed by it, and it works great. Everybody worries about durability. This thing feels solid as a rock, and I've had it for 3 months now, I think. But I think you're right. And that fine then, if it came to the U.S., I would probably be looking for what phone I could trade in. Michael says 60 hertz on the outer display and no pen compatibility and smaller screen on the inside, as well as hole punch cameras, probably help keep I'm sure that's true. That's all part. Michael is very well versed in most technology, so when he says something, I tend to listen. And Jimmy agrees with you, and Jimmy is also very well versed too. So, as is Miss E. So, I think in 4.5 years, I don't think I've ever missed a Friday. So I'm debating whether I should have one, but it's Christmas Eve, even though I'll be off next Friday. So I'm thinking people are going to be too busy. So as it stands now, folks, let's plan on getting together again 2 weeks. Oh, no, that's New Year's Eve. That's okay. I'd rather do a show on New Year's Eve than Christmas Eve, I do believe. Because, if I do a show from 8 to 9 o'clock and 9:30 on New Year's Eve, well, nothing big is happening even at the time that I end the show. But Christmas Eve, I'm guessing there's a lot happening with a lot of families, and most people are not going to have any time to watch. Although I'm a little worried that I did not see Renz in here today. This is the first time Renz has missed the show in, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 years. Yeah, Miss E can tell you that. So hope everything is going well with Renz. But he goes to work at the same time that I start the broadcast because he's in the Philippines. So he sometimes gets busy at work. Hopefully he just got buried in work today and everything is good. So that's the show for today, folks. And of course, I'm going to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas. I expect mine will be good. Thank you very much, Richie. I really appreciate it. And Jimmy, thank you also. You guys are very kind. And everybody have a wonderful Christmas. And I will see you right now. I'm planning on 2 weeks from now. My guess is that won't change, but if it does, I'll let you know. So also have a good weekend and get your shopping done if you're not done. Talk to you later.